Today, if someone told you they were going to make a game of talking skeletons based on Mexican folklore, crossed with noir, art deco, and a healthy dose of jazz, you'd probably laugh them out of the room. You would. Well, look who's laughing now. I don't know who's laughing. Is there someone here? Is there someone here? Hello, Internet. You are the Internet. I am Dirk Ridge, and I freaking love video games, even though I am terrible at them. No. And I have no idea what I'm doing. This channel is dedicated to my undying adoration for my favouritist games ever and the impact that they've had on my life. Whether you think they're good or not, which they are.
You're goddamn right.
And I was thinking of the game to start this exodus of gushing, this gushing exodus. And it's a game that often pops up on people's best games radars, and it was rightly recognised as an influential and beloved title by its remaster in 2015. Now, when the words greatest game ever are uttered, most people's minds go to Ocarina of Time, God of War, or Charlie's Angels for PlayStation 2. It's fun, in the same way that a bag of moist soil is kind of fun, which is fun.
Woo, fun!
But for me, if only in the adventure game genre, that game has to be LucasArts' 1998 noir-em-up, Grim Fandango. Grim Fandango!
Just your appearance is a little intimidating.
Intimidating? Me? But I'm your friend. My name's Manny Calavera. I'm your new travel agent.
The brainchild of game designer Tim Schafer, lord of all things weird and wonderful, and creator of amazing adventure titles such as Full Throttle, Day of the Tentacle, and Psychonauts, Grim Fandango is, in a word, a masterpiece. Not for the gameplay, which can be clunky and frustratingly imprecise at points. Oh, the beavers. The beavers. I gotta go all the way back and get more bones. Not for the puzzles, which can be infuriatingly obscure and almost impossible to solve, even with a really good strategy guide. So, the road is too bumpy and rocky for the bone wagon. The bone wagon needs shocks. That's where the shocks are, but how do we get them? That's the big question. Though this may be down to me being terrible at games, which I think we covered.
We said that already.
No, what makes Grim Fandango stand out in the annals of gaming history is through... What? I said annals. Annals. A-N-N... It's a word!
What's your profanity?
No, what makes it stand out are three things. The story, the design, and the voice acting. Minor spoilers ahead. The game follows Manny Calavera, a travel agent working at the Department of Death in the 8th Underworld, whose job it is to ferry souls from the land of the living to their final resting place. Manny is a down-on-his-luck, smooth-talking skeleton who just can't catch a break.
Can't work off my time and I'm stuck. Stuck selling walking sticks to a bunch of burros for eternity.
As the story unfolds, we meet Meche, Salvador Limones, Domino, Hector Le Mans, and Glottis, and encounter conspiracies, a grand love story, and an adventure that literally takes us to the edge of the world and back again. Now, I first spotted Grim Fandango on a demo disc in a PC gaming magazine, and what immediately stood out for me was the totally unique, beautiful design of the world and characters. Now, the characters and backstory are heavily inspired by Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead in Mexican folklore, and the world itself is this mad fusion of Art Deco, Art Nouveau, and more modern themes as well. I mean, who in their right mind would come up with the idea to have these wildly eclectic elements and put them together and also make them work so well? Well, this guy.
Don't try to fit into it. Just smash it to pieces with your own creative, inspirational game that no one else can make but you.
Tim, we salute you, you gorgeous weirdo. This amazing combination of styles totally sucks you into this weird and wonderful world of intrigue, darkness, and humor.
I look good in this, don't I?
Yeah, well, they say black is slimming.
The demo I originally played starts in Salvador Limones' underground lair in El Marrow under the Department of Death, and from the off I was totally blown away by this strange vision of life after death, the fantastical otherworldly somehow mixed with the familiar. The characters are also individual and endearing, but they wouldn't be anything without, in my opinion, probably one of the best voice acting casts ever committed to a video game ever.
Manuel, are you in love with her?
Love? Love is for the living, Sal. I'm only after her for one reason. She's my ticket out of here.
at a time when voicing in games was only really starting to become mainstream.
You'll have to excuse him, Manny. It's probably a really hard crossword puzzle he's got in there today.
There are so many conversation avenues and so much emotion in every single performance. It truly endures still over 25 years later.
Gladys, are you loco? What got into you? That was a company car.
Oh, yeah. And it's even better company now.
Also, did anyone else get halfway through the Ugly Betty pilot in 2006 and hear the voice of Betty's dad and go, God, you know, that voice sounds awfully familiar?
Hola!
It's, hola.
New.
It's Manny! The soundtrack is this sultry Latin jazz score that cleverly adapts as you traverse between game screens, and it perfectly sets the tone for each beat of the story. The locations are utterly mesmerizing in their design. El Marrow, Rubicava, and the Edge of the World are all beautifully realized in pre-rendered glory. And although the original PC's character models were a bit low-res in comparison at the time, the remaster's improved lighting and textures mean that the character models now match seamlessly with the backgrounds without sacrificing the spirit of the game. And yet, while I absolutely adore this game for being essentially a point-and-click adventure without the point-and-click, the gameplay in the original release didn't have to be that innovative or groundbreaking or revolutionary, but I have to admit, from a purely practical point of view, it is not always that fun to play. Sorry, I was just... The original had tank controls, and although it is fun to play as Manny and feel like you are him, I think that the move to a true point and click for the PC and smartphone version of the remaster actually improves the gameplay in some ways, and in the console version there is a camera relative option which makes things so much better. The puzzles are all inventory based, and your inventory can fill up. You can't quickly access items either, so you have to do this very unhilarious scroll through Manny's inside of his blazer jacket to get the right item, and even then it's difficult to work out what item it is and what you need it for and what you don't have and what you still need, and there can be a lot of backtracking, which honestly I don't mind in a game as beautiful as this. However, when you're in a place like Rubicava, which is massive, then it can be a little bit laborious having to trek from one end of the level to the other, again not knowing what you need and what items you need for who and to give to who and which conversations to trigger, and so it can get a little bit long and big. Don't say long and big. Don't say long and big again. About a week after I got the game, I had to go and buy this strategy guide to even have a chance at trying to tackle the puzzles, but that's probably because I'm terrible at video games, which I think I mentioned. I had to put the balloon in first, then I got to put the bread in. Otherwise, if you've only got one balloon, you put the balloon in, bread in first. You only got one bread, put the bread in first. Then you can't put the balloon in afterwards, and then you got to go all the way back down to get the bread again. But I have to say, this is all nitpicking about the gameplay and really does not detract from what is probably one of the most stylish, inventive and beautiful game worlds ever created. And my gosh, is it funny and witty and so endlessly quotable.
That compass and the handle will sure come in handy too. Anything about your past you haven't told me?
Quite a bit, considering I've told you nothing.
Hey, lay off the racket. The whole town's asleep.
But I want a drag race.
Manny, to me, is one of the greatest video game characters ever created, and I'm kind of sad that we didn't get to see him in any other mediums. I would have loved a Grim Fandango Netflix series. Just throwing it out there. But I'm thankful that we got introduced to him at all. And my heartfelt thanks to Tony Planner and the whole Grim Fandango cast for beautifully bringing these characters to life with their amazing voices. And there are a lot of characters, both important and insignificant to the story, yet every single one is performed impeccably by their human counterpart voice person.
Yeah, well, you don't have a tongue, but that doesn't seem to shut you up now, does it?
Every Day of the Dead, you toss your bones into the drink and I fish 'em out.
I'm gonna prove to Max
let me know once and for all that Olivia's no good for him.
This is all you want. You can fight the cats for it.
Every line is performed with so much pathos, wit, and style. It elevates this game world to something else entirely. Yes, I love Grim Fandango. Is it a perfect game? No. Should you play it? Absolutely. But do not be ashamed to whisk out that strategy guide as often as you open the map in the Silent Hill 2 remake. Bit of modern linking context there, very clever.
Clever girl.
Even in 2025, for me, this is an essential purchase just for the story alone, and thankfully, it is very available on most platforms thanks to the amazing remaster. It truly has a special place in my heart, and I can't wait to play it again for the I don't know how many times again time that I've played it. Time. Again. Again time. So go get it! I'm just gonna wait here till you get it. No. That's incredible. Are you kidding me? You can do... No way. No way.